minutes. Annual town meeting warrant and budget review.
Alright, I tried to bring it up on the
Please
screen,
do.
but for some reason it wasn't working.
Oh, no.
So I printed you all out the annual warrant review and the budget, which we'll go over the warrant first, cause it's quicker.
Yep, okay.
Then, so we'll start with Article 1. Do we want to review the consent agenda, since it is the same as every year, or
No,
no?
no. Are you good with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Alright, so the consent agenda is the consent agenda. It is the same every year. It is done in that fashion to make it easier on the town meeting floor. Budget articles. Article 7, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate from taxation, transfer from available funds, or otherwise provided the following sums of money to meet the salaries and compensation of town employees and town officers as provided in Mass General Law, Chapter 41, Section 108, expenses and outlays of town departments and sundry and miscellaneous but regular expenditures necessary from the for the operation of the town for fiscal year 2025, as printed in the appendix. So the appendix, we will review the budget in its entirety, asking for pauses in each section. But for now, the budget proposes the numbers as outlined on that sheet.
Mhm.
This is just the general operating budget, that is not the school system.
Right.
Alright, we can review that a little later, get deep into it.
Okay.
Article 8 is to see if the town will fund $357,138 for $138,000 for the Monty Tech school assessment for the year. This is down about $90,000 due to a decrease in students attending the technical school. This was pointed out by Quabbin this year that technically per student, what we pay for Monty Tech is significantly higher than what we pay per student for a student to attend the Quabbin, but it is almost never noticed just because it's been going down for the last couple of years. So with a $90,000 decrease, it was very much needed and accepted versus what is coming in the next article.
Yeah.
Article 9 is to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $6,343,869 to pay its share of the Quabbin Regional School District's budget for FY25. This is a 9% increase.
Mhm.
I am proposing a 9% increase because it is a middle ground that I could come to terms that were actually achievable. Like, we can only cut so much, there's only so much we can tax and are allowed to tax. I cannot in good faith recommend we cut police officers and cut DPW workers to fund a complete assessment request. Right now, they're requesting just under 12%. If nothing changes, which I'm hoping it does, and we get to a point where we have to fund that, it'll be another $168,000.
Okay.
So
Do we know what's the percentage increase in students?
we went up 20 students. That's the problem here.
So how much do we know the percentage increase compared to
The whole school went down. Hubbardson went up 20 kids. But that's fine. And if you watch the past presentations from the school district that I had invited you guys to, but I believe you were already gone, I'm okay with the increase that is associated with the students. It's the absolute unhinged just increase year over year that I'm not okay with, because we are expected to budget from the bottom up to where we can live. And our town departments have been running as smooth as possible on very little for so long, and most of our departments fight well above their weight class. The DPW does a great job, police does a great job, fire, our services are the best that we can do. The COA rivals some of the better COAs in our region, and they're doing so with very, very little money. And whereas the school, you flip the script and they start at, oh, what could our wildest dreams ever be, and then they kind of roll back to something that is finally palatable. But they also pit us against each other. Hubbardston is getting the largest increase by a long shot. A lot of it is that 20 kids. That's why I went as far as proposing 9%, because I understand that. But there has to be some give and take, and there just has not been. Even when we meet with the school, we tell them, I believe you were here. Yes, Chuck attended. We told them, like, hey, we understand what's going on, but work with us here, because we don't want to have to let go police officers or DPW or firefighters or pull our services back even further than they are. But we also really want to support the district. It's the same thing we said last year and the year before, and different people have said it in different ways over the last decade. At the end of the day, it has to be figured out at a state level before it will really come down to assist us in any meaningful way. I was slightly disheartened by the fact that I had last year stuck my neck out and fought for additional rural school aid that they are now using to fund their expiring COVID era money. It's called the ESSER money. So that's not even going to impact our bottom line. It is when you count everything together, because now we don't need to fund the expiring ESSER accounts, but I don't see a world where I'll be fighting as hard as I did in the past to ensure that our voice is heard for that type of funding. The school had asked us to hold off on any changes or expectations from them until we received more budget updates from the state. We received the House budget since then. It is lower in Chapter 70 and Chapter 71, knowing that the House is a large-scale majority in one direction that will likely right itself, but you can still never guess that. So I'm hoping that good things happen on the state level. Does anyone have any questions about the school budget while we're here?
So we had that meeting with them, and you heard nothing
Nothing
back
since that meeting, no.
I mean, what they were telling us is basically the same thing they've been telling us. I don't know, it's 5 years I've been on this committee, where it's the state's fault. Springfield's getting more, New Bedford's getting more, and all these other cities are getting more money. They have surpluses, but this is what they have to work with, just like what we have to work with. So you had the meeting where they explained where they are blaming it on the state, but then they don't have the courtesy to follow up on anything.
I don't think this was the necessary state numbers that they were waiting for. If it makes it through this week and the House budget comes out and I don't hear at least something from them, at that point I'll reach out. Cause right now the House is in budget week this week.
Right, I understand that. They're waiting for the state to give them their numbers, but they, meeting with them, telling them where we were or where we are, they didn't and give them any incentive, I guess, to take a second look, third look.
She being Superintendent Muha had noted publicly that they were taking a second look, they were making considerations, they had a draft plan, and they were waiting on those additional numbers. And I do give them a little bit of leeway because the state numbers change their budget significantly. The change in state funding this year, if it goes exactly with what the governor had, is $21,000. Cool, but with them, it is a actual large amount of money, one way or the other.
What are the other towns doing?
So unfortunately, I scheduled a meeting and we all talked about it, and everybody is frustrated, even at their smaller values. It's smaller money, smaller increases, but it's still, no one wants to pay. But it doesn't seem like anyone is willing to stand up with us and say, no, Hardwick is now losing their town administrator. Yeah, fun fact, I am the dean of the club. Yep, so Hardwick's is on the way out, they're hiring for that now. Barry's is just getting her feet under her, this is her
Yes.
first budget, and the other two towns don't have town administrators, so I'm joking there, it's just been a large turnover. And we had a year and a half, at least, the longest serving town administrator they're working with right now.
Well, that's another advantage then.
Yep. Barry has, I don't really wanna go too much into this, Barry has a rabble-rouser select board member, so maybe there's a surprise coming, but you never know. You don't stay somewhere as long as certain people within the district have stayed where they are without knowing how to play the game.
Okay. Alright.
The school budget in its entirety, as of the budget we have right now, is all on the town meeting and budget webpage on the town website. But it's a lot of the same. There's also a number of breakdowns in the budget that goes into, even with per capita spending, their admin prices are way up. It skews in a number of directions that doesn't always pass the smell test.
Are they giving themselves, admin raises again?
I cannot speak to admin raises, but there are going to be contractual raises pretty much everywhere else across the board, cause almost all of the contracts hit this year. And that's obviously what they're going to stand behind in saying primary cost raisers are.
They hit every year, is my recollection. So this year is not an exception. Alright.
So I guess, sorry, but the explanation that we have, this funds, the Hubbardston's assessment, it's funds what we think.
Yes,
The assessment should be.
this funds a 9% increase. You guys are the first people reading this, and I'm gonna turn it into a big, pretty to-do before I send out to everybody, but you are correct, I should put in there that this funds
Proposed.
a 9% proposal on top of last year's. And if we were to go to the full amount as of today, it would be between $165,000 and $170,000 on top.
Okay.
And if we had to fund that whole thing, it would not be pretty.
No.
I would likely come to the finance committee and the select board with hopes of not having to take that hit within our line items and figure it out elsewhere. You jumped ahead, so.
Alright. Okay.
Alright, where was I? Article 10, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate or transfer from available funds the sum of $56,318 to pay for its share of the Quabbin Regional School debt for FY '25. This is the debt assessment. It has gone up this year because of the chiller project that was approved. Any questions, any holds?
No.
Alright, Article 11, to see if the town will vote to appropriate the sum of $30,000 for salaries, benefits, committee stipends, and other operating expenses for Hubbardston Cable Advisory Committee. This is a standing article that funds the amount of money for the cable operations. It is not funded through taxation, it is funded through a fee on consumers' consumers' cable bill.
Was this once upon a time a revolving account? Wasn't it listed in a bunch of other stuff, or am I'm misremembering?
Something happened
I
last,
don't know, but
I think there was some expense that came up last year
Oh, and
regarding
it was
this.
wrong or something the last time.
so what
Okay, fine.
happened last year is due to COVID and the increase in cable operations, the line item ended up going under. And then the way I had attempted to fix it was to ask for $40,000 to pay the old bill and to fund the new year. Turns out that the way we had to fund that was as two separate articles.
Yeah.
And that's what we fixed at
Oh, I
special
remember
town
that.
meeting.
All right, I remember.
Funding the
Old
old
one with
amount
old- with a different
and
thing.
the $30,000 standing article for the new amount.
All right, okay, all right, okay, good.
Article 12 is capital improvement plan. To see if the town will vote to transfer the sum of $2,071,235 from free cash to pay for the following fiscal year 2025. I'm gonna fix that. Year 2025 capital expenditures. A gas boy fuel pump for the DPW. Additional road repairs for $100,000. The heat pump grant match for the library. A John Deere Z920M mower. A vault organization and management project for the new town clerk. A police cruiser for $87,000. The annual town office IT replacements, and SCBA breathing apparatus gear for the fire department. We did review this at your last meeting, but if you have any questions, you can take them now.
Is this everything we wanted on the capital plan?
For everything we could afford.
Yeah,
Okay, fine.
there's a lot of things we wanted,
Well,
it's not on there at all.
I guess
Chief
I
wanted
wasn't
it.
really asking for the wish list, but
Yeah.
what was scheduled.
Yes.
All right,
Yep.
okay. All right, fine, great.
Article 13, to see if the town will vote to appropriate $15,000 from free cash to fund an overnight on-call stipend program for the Hubbardston Fire Department ambulance services. So, we've been hearing from other communities that, I don't really know how to say this because I know they watch. It is in our best interest to be able to incentivize our on-call firefighters to take calls that are not fires. The history is that the fire calls will get everybody coming out, but an ambulance call will not receive the same level of enthusiasm from on-call firefighters, and they've had been picked up by mutual aid. So we are attempting to incentivize being basically a beeper fee. They would get $50 each per night, and if we would aim to do it twice. This would be just a kickoff program to see, a pilot program to see if it was worth doing, and hopefully take steps towards maybe someday in the future years of the town having an overnight full service fire department. But this is a step that we could potentially see taking. There's a good chance that the ROI on these would be instantaneous, and it would be a wash based on the type of calls that come in during the shifts that are taken.
What type of calls would we, so we would be getting money back?
Yep.
I know on the ambulance,
Yeah.
we could send,
Yep, if we pick up more ambulance calls, we get more money back. So there's a good chance, I can't say 100% chance obviously, but there's a good chance that this comes out as a wash.
That it would break even. Okay.
Any questions on it, Chuck?
Whose idea was this?
That came up after a conversation between myself and the chief, and was further discussed during a conversation with myself and the new union president, James Harries.
Okay, alright, okay, good.
It's not the full amount that they wanted,
What did they want?
closer to 20. It's not far off
Oh,
either.
alright, okay.
Article 14, to see if the town will vote to transfer the sum of $75,000. This is actually 50.
What happened?
Everything,
Oh, okay.
the number is 75 across the board. See if this will vote to transfer the sum of $50,000 from free cash to general stabilization, or take any action relative thereto. This is saving for a rainy day.
Don't we usually wanna save 100,000?
That's the goal.
Okay.
So 25 was kind of as close as I could get at,
Oh, no, I
at
get it,
that
no, I'm
moment.
just asking. Okay,
And then 25 for capital stabilization, grand totaling $75,000.
okay.
The next one is requesting $65,000 from capital stabilization to finalize and complete that squeaky wheel Hubbardston Center School boiler project.
Mhm.
That we've had $50,000 sitting around in a special article since last year. It was nowhere near enough. I am hoping that Senator Durant can pull some money out of an earmark and come in clutch, but with that being unknown, it will stay there until it is proven to not need to be.
So is this what the amount is, is right now?
It's $115,000 as of 4 months ago. So but I can't continue re-upping these RFPs knowing
Okay,
that,
we'll beat to death.
knowing that we only have, so much money. I'm hoping that since only one company submitted a bid, that's who I'm going to be able to work with and say like, hey, come on, this was hard enough, like, is there any way to just make this happen, call it a day? That's that. Article 17 is a incredibly riveting article.
Indeed.
It is to allow the select board to enter into a lease agreement with Pitney Bowes for a mail machine. As a select board, they cannot enter in any contract over 3 years. So the best pricing for this mail machine lease was a 5-year contract.
Okay.
Yeah. And it is a year-over-year budget deduction slightly,
Yeah.
because we will be saving time on senior work off, staff time, and you save like a penny on each stamp, so it all adds up. It is best practice. It's what every municipality I've worked in prior to this had done, and
So this is new then?
this would be brand new.
Yeah. Didn't even know they still had those.
Didn't either.
What, stamps or mail machines?
Mail
Pitney
machine.
Bowes.
Yeah, I didn't know they were still floating around. But stamps.com and everybody beat them up, but guess not. All right.
Stamps.com one ended up being more expensive.
Was it?
Yep. Community Preservation Act articles are Article 18, to see if the town will vote to appropriate $10,000 from accrued Community Preservation Act Open Space Reserve.
I'm gonna interrupt you to say that we never pass on community preservation articles one way or the other because we have no visibility into what they're doing.
Skip.
Yes.
Bylaw amendments.
Oof, we don't have anything to say about these either.
Do you traditionally not have, as the Finance Committee, it's not really a financial matter?
Yeah, we have no opinion on
All right.
this, yeah.
There will be a public public hearing on these two articles on May 1st, if as residents you are interested in that.
Okay. Very good.
And that is that.
Alright. Well,
Any questions before we move on to the budget?
I don't have any. How about you gentlemen?
Nope.
Alright, the way I'm going to propose doing this is I will bring up each line item, and if anyone has any holds or questions or anything like that, please just raise your hand or say hold.
Okay.
We'll give a couple of seconds between each one to actually look through. Moderator. Select Board. Town Administrator. Finance Committee. It's a level fund from last year on Finance Committee.
Mm-hmm.
Town Accountant. Assessor. The assessing services are going up because the new one-year contract with the assessing vendor went up slightly, and the new town clerk, it was found to be in their best interest to not have to learn both positions at the same time, so we separated it again.
Okay.
So, and that new employee, the part-time employee for 12 hours a week is starting on May 1st. That's what the $12,000 that kind of
Yep.
fluctuates all around is.
Alright.
Treasurer collector. IT. Town clerk. Building maintenance. Police. Fire. Land use. Emergency management. Animal control. Tree warden. Dispatch. School. The Department of Public Works.
They went down. The total went down.
Everyone went down. I had to make cuts.
Okay.
Yep. Police, fire, and DPW all went down.
Well, let me back up then. Oh, police and fire went down? Public safety? Let's see.
Public safety was a wash
was a-
because whereas police and fire went
Oh,
down,
alright.
dispatch went up.
What's the story with the dispatch?
I have reached
19% for those people?
and I reached out
Are
to
we
their town
trying to get out of there?
administrator. I am not at liberty to discuss publicly any unknown dispatch thoughts at this time. As on public record, we are happily within contract with Rutland Regional Dispatch.
Okay.
And I sent them a letter with the blessing of the select board about a month ago, asking to reopen the contract to consider how the other communities can best represent themselves when hiring and doing negotiations with union personnel, because I felt it was overtly unfair to have to tell a police officer or a firefighter here that, oh, you're lucky to get your 2% and but we're gonna be cutting from other parts of your department, but don't worry, a dispatcher who works just as hard as them, no one is taking anything from dispatch, is getting a 3-4% increase and their service lines are going up. I just
Well, I
felt
can
like-
understand if it went up, but they're talking over 19%.
Yeah.
And that's,
Well, what we have to remember is we received a $20,000 grant last year. So that, it's more like half of that.
yep.
select board have already said that they're willing to work with us. They would like to see it go to a completely regional, forget what they call it, but a different type of dispatch center, whereas everybody would share the duties and it wouldn't be Rutland's dispatch. It would be the Rutland Regional Dispatch, a standalone operation outside the parameters of the town of Rutland. I think that's how they would prefer it, cause then the cost would be shared, we'd be sharing things like the weight on the treasurer collector's office, but at that point, we would have to weigh the options, because yes, it would give us more say, but would that be cheaper in any way? I do not know much more outside of the letter that I wrote to them, and the letter we received back approximately a month ago saying, yes, this is something we're willing to look into, we'll reach out soon.
Would that have any effect on service levels?
It would be the same service levels. I'm assuming, like, obviously, I have not had that conversation yet,
Okay.
and I have a long-standing professional relationship with the gentleman that ended up receiving the town administrator role in Rutland.
Mhm.
So I was able to tell him flat out, like, hey, this is something, if it doesn't save money and increase our stake at the table, it's not something we're gonna be interested in.
Okay, alright. Okay.
Snow and ice. Streetlights. Cemetery. Senior center.
Let me back up.
Yes.
For the DPW.
Mhm.
We gave them a haircut, but we've allocated $100,000 in the capital budget for
For
additional
road.
road stuff. How does that square itself?
The road funding that is funded through chapter 90 and the additional capital allocation is for larger scale projects than road materials funding is. Road materials is more potholes and the smaller funding. I obviously don't really like, but you and Travis agree on this. When asked where he wanted to cut, he said, I want them to feel it. So.
That's my boy.
I'm like, so.
That's my boy.
So that's where
Good.
we ended up giving the increase to his clerk that has been a wonderful hire.
Oh,
and-
good, okay. The assistant?
Yeah.
Yeah. Ooh. Yeah. Poverty wages. Okay. Very good. Carry on. Senior center, what's going on with that?
Senior center, they're getting their deck.
Oh, they are?
Yeah,
When does that start?
August.
Okay.
Yeah, I met with the contractor today, finalized everything. You can say what you wanna say about them, but they're hustlers. They raised a good amount of money, and it's an expensive project, but
Yes.
most of it isn't tax funded.
Well, better look swanky.
Veterans. The massive
What
cut.
happened there?
We don't
have any
have
veterans?
anybody spending the money, so if we ever do, at this point, I'd rather reallocate and then have to seek the additional monies via special town meeting or at a future annual town meeting than have $20,000
Tied up.
sitting, and
Okay.
we spent a very small amount of money this year. And as I believe I've noted at previous meetings, one of the qualifications for chapter 115 is that you don't own your own home. And seeing
Oh.
as there are very minimal rental units available in Hubbardston, that makes it more challenging. Not to say that it does not exist, because in certain years we've had as high as 6 veterans seeking chapter 115, and at that point we would reallocate and shift around, because that money, albeit 2 years later, does come back.
Mm-hmm, okay. All right, answered that.
Sorry to back up,
Mm-hmm.
with the fire department, we have vehicle maintenance down 28%, and turnout gear down, and medical supplies down. Could be under services.
Yeah. There was a contract to be held to, and when given the opportunity to discuss this, those types of lines were prioritized over that of other lines. This is all, if I'm being honest, interchangeable, so he's gonna do what he can do.
What, all the services
All
line
the
items you
services
need?
line, yeah.
Yeah, but everything's cut or level funded.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I'm just wondering how he can, like, cut his $6,000 on vehicle maintenance.
I mean, because if you're saying that he'll find the $6,000 from something else, everything else has already been cut.
I agree.
Well, he's the boss, I guess.
And none of them wanted to make any cuts. I just told them an amount that needed to be cut and asked them what their preferences were.
Well, I just,
So
when I.
you told them they had to cut $25,000 off their budget?
It was 3%. Off of last year's.
Well, I'm looking at, oh, okay, oh, from 595, all right, so the okay, that's what I'm looking at, okay. All right, so they cut $14,000. No, that's not right, 7,000. All right, well. That can't be right. Is that right? Alright, that's not, that isn't right. Can't do the math in my head. Alright. Alright, are we ready? Ready.
Yep.
What's next?
Library.
Where is it? Oh, there we are, okay. Oh, let's see.
And there's a chance, cause I feel the same way, there's a chance that before going to the select board, when finally I may work with Bob to even that out, the bottom line will not change.
Alright. Okay.
Library, Recreation, Agricultural Commission, Historical Commission, Debt, short term, Debt, long term, the debt school roof principal, we're still waiting to be able to roll that over into permanent borrowing. The MSBA is taking a really long time.
Okay.
Anything for liabilities and assessments other than being grossed out?
Well, let's see. How come our liability insurance went up so much? Did we have some claims?
Nothing more more than normal. It's going up like everything else, unfortunately.
Did we shop it?
I am currently shopping it. I am waiting, but my woman that I was working with from Maya ended up retiring right in the middle, and it got dropped until recently. I had to call them to get put back on their radar.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping to hear from them. And the unemployment is pretty much the same response as the veteran services. We can deal with that as things come to us.
Okay, yes, alright, I get it. Alright,
Did we pay out unemployment for 24?
Very, very, very little. So they changed how seasonal employees work. The only amount of unemployment we had to pay out was to a couple of seasonal employees that then didn't go and get meaningful full-time employment this winter. But we're gonna be able to get out of that in the future by claiming seasonal status for them.
alright.
Alright. Oh, I did not print you guys the cover sheet. Let me do that. Does anyone have any questions on the revenue side while I am going through this? This is all based off of our Q3 factuals that I put out at the end of last week, 2 weeks ago.
What was our actual new growth?
What does it say in the line?
I've got two budget numbers, and I don't have a 23 actual line item here, but I'm just curious as to what it was.
150 and some change.
Oh, okay. What does it look like it's gonna be for fiscal year 24?
Right around there.
Okay, but we're projecting only 100 for fiscal year 25?
I'm being
Careful.
conservative.
Alright, fine.
And the way that our financial policies state that we're going to do that is based off of a 5-year average.
Oh, okay.
I don't think I followed that to the T, but it's closer than what I would have preferred to do.
Alright.
Our interest is up that high. The accountant actually told me I could go a little higher, but that I didn't think that would pass the Department of Revenue snuff test when we went to free cash certification.
Okay.
What's the Watershed Division Trust pilot?
That's the money we get for all of the land being in Ware River watershed. So you're talking about the 380? Yeah.
Okay.
That's our bread and butter.
That's what it looks like.
And I do gripe to legislators and anyone that will listen every chance we get to note that that should be higher.
Yep.
Okay.
They're expecting wiring permits to double?
They have almost this
Yeah.
year already. Come on, printer.
What does the earning on investment represent?
What is what?
The earnings on investment.
It's, so the town takes all of what is in some of the trust funds and general stabilization and a variety of other funds and invests it in very conservative opportunities. And we're, after a couple years of not doing so wonderfully, we are catching back up. Overall, the town is up on said investments, but this year it's doing decent after a couple of bad years.
Who invests it for us?
Who's making the decisions?
Bartholomew.
I don't know who that is.
It's an investment firm. They do a lot of municipal work.
Which one again?
Bartholomew.
Where are they out of Boston?
Right now.
And these earnings are like in form of dividends that are paid out?
Worcester.
They're out of Worcester, okay. Yeah, and these are dividends, what are these? Well, they must be,
Yeah.
dividends or interest or something like that.
Dividends or capital gain?
I can have Mary come to a future meeting if you would like to discuss those further. Has she come in the past? Cause we get a whole report each year. You'd think that would be something that the finance committee would be interested in. I'll work on that.
Okay.
Cause I know enough to write the budget, like, so, and very proud of our treasure collector. She was recently certified, so, which is a very challenging test.
Are we taxed on these earnings at all? Just curious.
That I will get you an answer on. My heart says yes. Like,
Yeah, why would they come,
Like-
why would they leave anything?
Is this the end of the invoices for the town center project?
yeah. Trying to print so I can tell you I'm proposing using $120,000 of free cash to balance the budget, but it's not printing. Yeah, there's one more budget thing.
Oh. Oh. Where is this on this, on revenue by source?
I have to print it for you,
Oh.
but the printer isn't working currently.
Because we haven't done our IT upgrades? Is that what our IT upgrade is gonna be for? Fix the printer?
From my understanding, and maybe I just need my memory refreshed, what does debt exclusion means for like school roof?
So a debt exclusion and a 2.5 override are two ways that you can tax over 2.5% over the following year before. A debt exclusion is for an item or an individual purpose, and a debt override is in general.
How much money do we have left in our reserve fund currently?
If this would print, you would know right then and there.
But it won't, so how much do we have?
General stab, 568,697.
The finance committee reserve, I'm looking.
All of it.
Oh, we haven't spent any of it?
No,
Oh, no, all right.
you have $30,000.
Oh, good for us, okay. Sorry about that.
Yeah. If you wanna pass this around, that's the proposal. Those are mine. I don't know if you're looking for yours.
Oh, they worked.
Yeah.
They're also cleaner.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons why they worked. Okay.
You've seen that, just that line. When the expenditures are higher than the revenues, you need to figure out a way to cover the.
Okay.
I'll email you guys all of this. I apologize for not printing that last form ahead of time.
That's all right.
Alright, any further questions on the budget?
I don't have any. Do you have any?
No.
Anybody? Okay, we're good.
Right. That brings us to the end of the review. Did we want to schedule a second meeting or do recommendations this evening?
Wanna do recommendations this evening?
Sure.
Yes, we will do them this evening. What do you want us to recommend on?
Either we can break it down and go one by one, if there's things that you think the finance committee would like to discuss, or if you're blanket recommending everything, we could do that too. If, well, minus the CPA and the bylaw. Is there anything we wanted to discuss further?
Is there anything we wanted to discuss further? No, we're gonna blanket recommend
Alright.
everything, Articles 1 through, now, you can help me here, let's see. Through 17.
Yep.
Okay. All right, motion, I will make a motion to, that the finance committee recommend, the, town vote to approve Articles 1 through 17 of our warrant.
Second.
Okay. Discussion, all in favor? Unanimous.
Perfect, thank you. It's easier when there's not a lot of money to.
Alright,
Alright, here's 3 different reserve requests that I sent you about a month ago. $7,949.74 to cover the cost of an emergency repair of a fire alarm system at Hubbardston Center School. This is over $5,000, so therefore it is our responsibility. $2,000 to pay the final 2 engineering bills for the town center project. I know the finance committee has been hesitant to fund these in the past, but the TEC company has already been waiting for the better part of a year. So if we could just get it done, that would be great. And $2,455 for compliance assurance fee from the Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection. We are working on a variety of ways to get this done so that these fees do not pop up again in the future. As it is not a budgeted item, I would hope to be able to bring it to special or annual town meeting instead of having to create a laundry list of recurring items to bring to the finance committee.
okay.
So this insurance fee, this is property that we own, the town owns on Pitcherville?
Yeah.
It's not the property that got sold?
No, it is, putting it bluntly, it's the shooting range.
The what?
It's the shooting range, lot 57 on Pitcherville, and there are a variety of ways, both being funded by town coffers and potentially utilizing access and egress means to a potential developer that bought the lot behind it, that we are looking into cleaning this up. But it has not occurred yet. We have until fiscal year 2027 to clean it.
But we have no idea what it's gonna cost to clean.
It is $80,000 if we do it.
We as
How do we do it?
We have a whole report on it.
Boil it down. How do we do it?
There are 2 options that if we do it. One is 80,000, the other is a little over 100,000, between different fashions of actually cleaning up.
Well, but my question is about cleaning up. What is it, digging up the dirt and disposing of the dirt?
It's digging up the dirt and dirt removal, it's lead
Right.
from guns.
Is this still being used as a shooting range?
No. And there is a developer that purchased the Marinelli lot behind it.
Right, I remember all of that.
That could tie into this. They're interested in receiving access and egress means over the lot, potentially even buying the lot. So I am waiting for the company that bought the Marinelli property to work with their engineers to come forward and present something.
Okay.
Cause he had originally come to me saying, how do you feel about this, how do you feel about this, how do you feel about this? So we had to tell him, that's not really how this works. You go and get your ducks in a row and
Mhm.
come back telling us what you're willing, what you you'd be willing to do, what you'd be willing to spend, and we can go from there. Like, obviously, the planning board, myself, are not going to want to see a potential developer go down a path where they're ultimately going to fail miserably, but we can't tell them what to do either. So,
Alright,
I'm hoping that by the time they're coming to assess us a fee next year, we'll have this in a better place so that we can maybe appeal the fee.
alright. So the fee is being assessed because we haven't done anything.
Yeah.
Alright. So it's a fine.
They
Is what
said
it is,
fee.
what-
It is
No, I
fine,
know,
like-
compliance assurance fee means fine. Okay, good. Alright. I would take a motion to approve all of
Seconded.
these.
Yes.
Okay, in a second. And any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous.
You wanna sign that?
I do.
The one question people have asked me a couple times is the town center project. Why
Mhm.
was the sidewalk go across the town common area?
Let me get you an answer to that.
Would that,
Let me get you an answer to that. We actually just went out. I've gotten more questions on the town center project today than in the last 2 months, and it's because we went out with MassDOT yesterday. So,
The regional school district agreement, how often does it get discussed?
not enough.
I thought it was up.
It's up next year. Yep, and we will certainly
And,
do our best to ensure that we have a seat at that table.
I would think, I mean, if the $5,000 is the limit, why don't they kick in the 5,000?
yeah, and
we
then
pay?
weigh the difference, right? If it's like if it's 5,001, then we are responsible.
Yep.
That is kind of.
I'm hoping to
not
be an
making sense.
advocate for upping the numbers and potentially talking about something like that. I don't see a world where we get both of those, but maybe we up it to 15,000, or, cause these are, I believe, 2006 numbers.
Oh, wow.
And because if you remember, I believe we brought it to the finance committee, the debt numbers just didn't work at all when we were doing the HVAC system. And it ended up being a whole issue with some towns paying it right away and other towns having to go long-term, and the way they wanted to do the formula, there was almost a penalty for not being able to pay it right away, so we had to work out an intermunicipal agreement between the school and the towns to have a set fee for a set number of years, and
Maybe next we can just pay the difference. It's very long.
Town administrator report, I think over the course of doing the budget and the warrant, I updated you on a lot of what has been going on. The
Mhm.
new town clerk started on Monday, so far so good, she showed up for 3 days in a row.
Alright.
Her name is Melody Green, it is the green you think it is.
Great, cool.
Like,
She has a resource in case
yeah,
you
she
need it.
That's right.
She has a resource,
Genetic.
I'm hoping that to not have to overutilize that resource for
Yeah.
both women.
Right.
But so far so good, it's only
Great.
been 3 days, other than that, things are moving along as they have been. Money is tight, but for the most part, we're doing what we can with less. Like I said, the senior deck is moving forward, all of the towers are moving forward, the planning board is working on co-location applications right now, which means other carriers will be able to get on there, so it's a AT&T poll, and now Verizon's applying to get on.
Okay.
We're
Will
working-
town benefit from that? Will they give us a fee?
We'll get taxes. We're renegotiating the HCA's, the host community agreements with the marijuana farms, and they are currently working their way towards what we're calling renewal of their license, but the town of Hubbardston bylaws do not recognize renewals, so, yeah.
Why not? Didn't these bylaws just get a spring cleaning? How did that get missed?
Not the whole, not
Oh, they
soup to
didn't? Not
nuts, like
everything?
they've cleaning up parts of it.
Oh, God.
I think an A to Z zoning bylaw update at this time still wouldn't be a very popular thing. There's still the people that wrote them kicking around quite a bit,
Oh, that's too bad.
but
Pride of authorship.
yeah.
Is that second marijuana operation even up, is it even?
Yeah, both of them are up and running, one a little bit better than the other. Neither of them owe us any money outside of their property taxes, so that's all a state issue that I'll gripe about until the cows come home, but it happened. There is a potential, I have it on good authority, that the MBTA is considering going into Gardner again, so that would make.
Oh, that's awesome.
That would make us an MBTA community.
That's awesome.
Which isn't awesome, like being an MBTA community, cause you have housing requirements.
Right.
Oh, that's still,
Affordable housing requirement.
that's alright. No.
Town Holden, look at what they've going through.
No, I
So-
guess. Well,
That, I guess the timeline would be calendar year 26, 27.
really?
So-
Wow,
So-
okay.
But I've also been told things like that by the state before, and it happened 10 years later.
Yeah.
So,
Why did it get yanked? Why, do you
I do
know?
not know.
Probably ridership.
I used to take that train in,
Yeah.
not from Gardner, I picked it up in South Acton when I lived in Stowe. And, there was plenty of people on it,
Yeah.
and they all worked in the State House, and they all worked together, and they would carry on and play cards and have cocktails on the way home and all this stuff, and it was quite a little thing.
We'll never do that again. I did it for 5 years. Take the train from Leominster to the State House, and
Yeah.
it was expensive. It was tiring. It was.
Oh, yeah, well, it'd be driving it and
Yeah.
parking every day of the week, but it was that was a tough commute, but that's when it came all the way out.
Any matters not reasonably anticipated?
Well, it's reasonably anticipated by me, but not by any of you. I'm not going to run this year. I'm done.
When
It's
is your term up?
this year.
Oh, I thought you just got,
If you.
I was appointed for a year.
If you didn't run, would you consider being appointed for a year?
I would not. No. Here's what I will do though, is I'm interested in being on the committee that negotiates the regional agreement.
Once we know more about that, I
Right.
will certainly keep you in the loop.
Yeah,
They're keeping that very close to vest at this time.
I'm sure they are. I've done this for 10 years, and so I'm
it's only understandable.
kinda.
I thought you were written in last year, not appointed.
Well, that may have happened also,
Yes.
but
She was
I
written
don't.
in for 1 year, I believe.
Yeah, no, I did it for 1 year on purpose, cause I was thinking about this last year, but this year I've decided, it's time,
Alright.
it's
So,
time.
understandable, but appreciate.
Yeah,
Well,
thank you for your
Thank you,
service.
oh, thank you for putting up with all of it.
You were a great help, great guidance.
Oh, good, well, thank
Learned a
you,
lot.
well, good.
I'll send out some emails kind of alluding to the fact that if we don't get somebody, then there's not a quorum of finance committee members.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, cause, I mean, if we don't have a quorum,
That can't meet.
No, then you can't meet.
And then the decisions will be made by planning, is it?
No,
Or
so
select
those
board?
decisions would not be made.
Oh.
The finance committee has a role in this community as outlined in both the bylaw and the town charter, so there needs to be one. If there's not one to meet, the questions would go unanswered.
Well, your jam would be, I mean, you wouldn't have a finance committee to approve the warrant articles for,
Yeah.
for what that's worth, but your your jam would be
It's
for your,
reserve.
for your reserve.
Yeah,
You know, and
that's,
everybody-
the reserve
that's
funding.
your problem.
The reserve funding request would be the only thing that would hold up day-to-day operations. Like, it would stink, and it would definitely be a arm of the government not acting or serving appropriately, cause finance committee is supposed to be town meeting seat at the table.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's what it's serving as. In
Mhm.
other towns, it's labeled the advisory committee, because technically, if you go and read Mass General Law and the town charter, it doesn't stop at finance if you didn't want it to. Like,
Mhm.
finance committee could request that they have a say on a particular issue. Like, that sometimes starts a little bit of friction with select boards.
Well, I suspect that question was asked and answered at the time the charter was created, because the finance committee doesn't, its wings were clipped. It's only by force of personality that I try to shove my way into some other stuff, but that's about it.
Well, if you have a committee, I still might reach out for questions.
No, that's fine, yeah, I can still give you my certainly give you my 2 cents. But yeah, so it might be too that, despite all my charm and personality, that might clear the way for other people to come on board too, so.
Oh, I've never heard anyone say.
No?
No.
The Lion.
I can think of a few, but they're not in the
I
town.
was the only one.
The line's not out the door regardless of whom is. And I've even tried, sometimes I'll be talking to people out of the blue and they said, oh, let me know when I can get involved. And like, I'm bored. Oh, finance committee, not that bored.
It's numbers and math and scary.
Yeah, that's like, that people misunderstand, I think, even when you try to explain it to them, it's just.
Well, the other thing too is, it's like the border. There's a contingent that wants to complain about it and not do anything.
Oh,
on
yeah.
it.
Yep.
Be part of a solution or be part of anything. They just wanna combat you. So anyway, so that's that, and I'm sorry, gentlemen, but you'll
We'll figure it out.
you'll somehow survive without me. But it's been fun, and we'll bring it home at town meeting, and that'll be that.
Do I have your signed version? I do,
You
alright.
do, and.
Town meeting, what day?
June 4th.
What?
And maybe if I can get it together, we'll have a little pre-meeting on June 4th before this, and I'll show up with all the stupid minutes, and that'll be the end of it. Or else I won't, and then
Figure
too
it out.
bad.
They're all recorded. We'll be
They're all
alright.
recorded, I know, so I'm like, why do I have to do this? But I'll do it anyway.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
We're all set? Yep, motion and second, and all in favor, aye.
Perfect.
7:12.
Thank you, Bridget.